This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the Yoga's little brother. Well, not little in size, but a little bit littler in price. This is the Lenovo IdeaPad Flex, and it too has a sort of yoga hinge, about 3/4 of the travel of the full Yoga, and it's at 3/4 of the price. We're going to look at it now. So this is the Lenovo IdeaPad Flex 14. Like I said, also available in a 15-inch model. You're looking at basically the same thing, only an inch difference in size between those two. Now, the appeal of this is that it starts pretty cheap if you get a very base configuration. 4th generation Haswell Core i3 machine with 4 gigs of RAM and a spinning hard drive will start at $550 or so on Lenovo's website. Now, their list prices are higher, but you know they always have specials, they always have coupons. It makes pricing kind of a moving target with them, but I would say around $550 for the base model. There's also a Celeron, just don't get it. It's going to be so slow, just do not get it, even though it's a little bit cheaper. Now, our model has a Core i5, 8 gigs of RAM, and 128 gig SSD, and it lists for $999, at which price I probably wouldn't recommend it, but it really sells for about $780. So compared to the $1,000 Yoga Pro 2 that just came out, you do save some money. Now, it's not as ritzy as the Yoga. Right here you have a 1366 by 768 touchscreen, 10 points of touch sensitivity. Contrast and colors are not too bad. They're better than some of Lenovo's even lower level IdeaPad systems, certainly. But for, $800 or so, you should get a pretty decent screen, don't you think? I think so. But if you get the Yoga 2 Pro, and in some ways I swear this model is just the upsell to convince you to get that 2 model, you get a 3200 by 1800 display, fantastic panel. So big difference there for your $200. So for those of you who are thinking about both of these, keep that in mind. Now, how is this different from the Yoga 2 Pro? Well, obviously it's a bigger machine, 14 inches versus 13.3. 0.7 inches isn't a huge difference, I don't think, for most people in terms of usability, but it's also available in that 15-inch model, so it does give you, well, the size versatility for those of you who really don't want to go down as low as 13.3 inches. Keyboard nice and spacious. It's a little bit rattly, a little bit flexy. Actually, the Yoga 2 Pro is a little bit firmer. No backlighting on this keyboard, but creature comforts of a bigger machine are more ports for starters, and also a removable battery, which is always a nice thing. First, we're going to look at the ports. Right here, one USB 3.0 port, full-size HDMI. We have Ethernet right here. This is Lenovo's new rectangular style charging connector. Obviously, these are some vents for cooling. And on this side, we get 2 more USB ports. These are just USB 2.0, though. Remember, this is still an IdeaPad line model. Lenovo doesn't like to fill up with a lot of USB 3.0 ports. They'd like you to get a ThinkPad line instead to do that. SD card slot right here, our 3.5mm combo audio jack. Notice there's volume controls on the side, and there's a power button on the side, even though this doesn't go to full tablet. So there's the other difference. See the hinge design right here? Certainly different from our friend the Yoga, and we'll bring that in for a minute to refresh your memory. And this area right here, this is the removable battery. Good times. It's getting hard to find that in laptops these days. Even some of the slim 14 inchers like this have sealed batteries, so battery is accessible. If you take the bottom off, lots and lots of Phillips head screws here, including you have to remove these little wedgie feet over here. You can get to the internals, 2.5-inch standard SATA drive bay, so not too hard to find a drive for that. It also has 1 RAM socket, DDR3 low power, 1600 megahertz, so you can upgrade that as well, and the wireless card is socketed. As ever with Lenovo and their IdeaPads, it's single band Wi-Fi, 2.4 gigahertz only. We would love to see dual band. We'll keep saying it until they start doing it. For $800 again, would be nice. The wireless module here is the Intel 7260. They've been using that in a lot of their IdeaPad models lately, so nothing wrong with that module. It's a good module. It's just you'll get faster speeds with dual band Wi-Fi, and you can avoid the 2.4 gigahertz band that's so polluted with all your neighbors' access points. Bluetooth, microwave ovens, they're all on 2.4 gigahertz, so the 5 gigahertz that you would get with dual band would be a nice thing. Lots of cooling vents over here, obviously, and these are our speaker grills up top. This runs on ULV CPUs, just like an Ultrabook, so they're low power, low heat, so really that's a lot of cooling actually for that kind of processor and what's inside of here, and as a result the machine does run quite cool. You'll hear the fans kick on once in a while, nothing too horrendous though. So while the Yoga 2 Pro opens up like a laptop, folds all the way back like a tablet, this one will go into presentation mode. Obviously you can also lay it just straight flat. So you can do it keyboard down just like you would with the yoga. There's our keyboard. And you can use it in presentation mode. That brings the screen closer to you. It actually is a lot easier to touch than when you're reaching across a keyboard. Or if you want to turn it around and give a presentation, aim it at your kid, aim it at somebody you're giving a presentation to, it works. And this is as far as it goes if you want to tip it back, which I think is a fairly friendly angle for a lot of people, but if you're putting it on a very low table, you might wish it went even further. So for comparison, here's our Yoga 2 Pro. Obviously a little bit thinner, a little bit smaller, but laptop mode, presentation mode, just like that guy. But you can keep going any angle you want, and you can use it in tablet mode. So there's the difference between these two. This is the Yoga hinge, and that's the Flex hinge. And there's the difference in size and thickness. You can see our Yoga being the ultrabooky kind of guy, and the Flex being a slim and light portable. Weighs 4 pounds, by the way, and obviously it's not too thick either. It's fairly slim. This has a soft touch finish on it. It's available in your choice, a black with a silver accent or black with orange accent, for which you're going to pay more money right now on Lenovo's website anyway. Plastic materials mostly on the outside. It's not a bad looking notebook. I don't think it's a stunning looking notebook by any means. Certainly serviceable. Nice taper to it. Now when we open it up, you'll see a nice metal wrist rest area. So this deck right here, a little cool to the touch. This is brushed metal, and we have a large trackpad. Works quite well, very responsive. Typical Lenovo smile-shaped keys. Like I said, though, there's a bit of flex on the deck more than I would like. The keys are a little bit rattly as well. No backlighting. It's okay. It's not Lenovo's best. It's certainly no ThinkPad keyboard, but there are certainly worse on the market. It's not terrible or anything like that. In terms of key relief, it is a thin machine, so they don't have room for a whole lot of travel. You can see. If you press down on the keys. Obviously, it's running Windows 8. This is Windows 8 64-bit. Now it should be shipping Windows 8.1. We had ours for quite a while now, so we actually had upgraded it from 8 to 8.1 ourselves, but 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, as they say. Standard desktop right here. You have full access to Metro apps. This has all the power of an Ultrabook with the ULV CPU, starting with that 1.6 gigahertz Core i5 4200U that we have here. You can get a Core i7. You could go down to a Core i3 and lose your turbo boost as well. Certainly it can handle some video editing, Photoshop editing, MS Office, no problem. Web browsing, multiple tabs in Chrome, just fine. It's your everyday capable PC. You can get the machine with 4 or 8 gigs of RAM. That's up to you. Again, there is one RAM slot in there. The lower end models have 500 gigs spinning conventional 5400 RPM hard drives, or you can get an SSD drive. Ours has a 128 gig Samsung made SSD drive, and again, it's a standard 2.5 inch SATA. It's low profile, 7 millimeters. You have to get 7 millimeter or thinner if you're going to upgrade the hard drive yourself later, or the SSD drive. In terms of benchmarks, it falls right in the middle of where we would expect for a Core i5 with Haswell. 4434 on PC Mark 7, and W Prime, a computed Pi in 23.69 seconds. So perfectly average performance for a perfectly middle-of-the-road Ultrabook kind of CPU and GPU inside. Intel HD 4400 graphics, no dedicated graphics option on this guy. 1366 by 768 is the display resolution. That is also the only option. There is no full HD or higher resolution. Lenovo would love you to get the Yoga 2 Pro instead if you want something like that, or one of the ThinkPads that are running at higher resolutions. This is not an IPS panel. It is a TN panel, but like I said, as TN panels go, it's middle of the road. It's not hideous by any means. It's not fantastic like an IPS panel, but it's fine. If you tilt it, you'll see, besides reflections, it's going to start losing contrast, particularly side to side, can be better than going forward or back, though. We have a 4-cell 48 watt hour battery. Again, like I showed you, that is removable, just pops out the back. Refreshing that is. And Lenovo claims up to 9 hours of battery life. Now that is pretty ambitious. You know, manufacturers often overshoot a bit, but we're finding 8 hours pretty easily. If we leave auto brightness on, and you know, it's not terribly bright at that, but I know some of you can tolerate dimness pretty well. But with auto brightness on, Wi-Fi on and active, we have managed to reach 8 hours with this. So as an all-day companion to go to school with or to take to work without being plugged into AC, that's pretty darn good. Helps that it has those ULV CPUs instead of full mobile CPUs that you might also find in a 14 or 15-inch machine, because those consume more power and they also make more heat. So how about video playback? Obviously, Core i5 here, Intel HD 4400 graphics, not going to be a problem, but let's hear how those speakers sound, see how the display looks. Now we'll look at the Yoga 2 Pro video and play that video review so you can see. Certainly reasonably clear. 1366 by 768 obviously is not a wicked high resolution. This is not for those of you who really want a super high resolution display, but it's readable enough and the contrast is sufficient. This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. We're going to look at one of the hottest convertibles of 2013.
That's pretty darn loud, isn't it? Wow.
Windows 8 convertibles of 2012. This is the Lenovo Yoga 2 Pro, and we're going to look at it now. So it's finally here, the Lenovo Yoga 2. So that actually looks pretty good, and those speakers are only at 55% volume. In terms of audio, you'll have no trouble filling a room with sound, be it music or movie audio track. And, you know, it's not too tinny, it's not grating either, so it's very good. In terms of bloatware, Lenovo has good self-control when it comes to bloatware, so there's not a whole lot on here. Mostly Lenovo's own webcam utilities, things like that, a couple of web shortcuts, their own management stuff. One strange thing they did here with the SSD drive is they partitioned it in two. I don't know why. They don't usually do that. So you can see we have a C drive and a D drive, and the D drive is just there, I guess, they think, to put data files on. Obviously, Windows is on the C drive, and it's just a little oddity. It really doesn't matter so much. And out of the box, if you do the math, you can see we have about 70 gigs of storage free on our 128 gig SSD, which isn't too bad as these things go. So the IdeaPad Flex 14 is a nice machine, and now that Lenovo's bringing it in close at $800, it's looking more attractive than when it first came out, and they were shooting for $999 on this because there's a lot of competition in this size range. Particularly Asus is pretty aggressive with their 550 models. You can go up to full HD displays for around the same price. So against the other brand competition, Lenovo has some stiff goings there, but I think in the end, really, they want you to buy the Yoga 2 Pro if you want to move up the food chain in terms of quality. That is, unless you're really sold on, say, a 15-inch machine. Again, this is the 14, but some folks really like a bigger display, understandable, and that's not something you're going to get with the Yoga 2 Pro. So that's the Lenovo IdeaPad Flex 14, also available in a 15-inch model, and for the price, it's not too bad, and it certainly has an innovative kind of hinge here. The question is, do you find this position particularly useful? Certainly the standard laptop position is very useful. It does bring some good things to the table that the Yoga 13 doesn't, like the added USB ports and the Ethernet ports. So it really depends on what you're looking for in a laptop. Do you need an Ultrabook, or do you need a fairly compact portable laptop that has some display versatility? I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full review of the Flex 14, and don't forget to hit that like button.